Well, hello, soccer fans. Randy McKee here with Soccer 605, and we are here with this week's girls wrap-up show. We had some really interesting movement and some very important games on the girls' side in South Dakota high school soccer this week, and we want to get all that covered. I'll be joined here in a few minutes by Coach Chris Derry, who's been with us since the very start of our wrap-up shows, and he'll be here to provide some observations and some analysis, like he always does such a great job at. I want to start tonight by thanking our one of our major sponsors, Home Federal Bank, who have done such a great job in helping us bring more and better soccer coverage to you. If you have a Home Federal branch in your town, please pop in there and say thank you for helping us get better soccer coverage in South Dakota. They've been such great sponsors. As we talked about it last week, the A girls really were very settled. There was a kind of a distinct line between the sixth seed and the seventh and eighth seeds, and really all I think the girls were really working for this week was to see who traveled where, because ultimately the lucky winners of the games coming up Tuesday night are going to have to either play St. Thomas More at home, who are probably, if not the best girls team in the state, certainly one of them, or they have to go to Belle-Fourche and play that scrappy Belle-Fourche side, which has given so many teams so many fits over the year, even in the AA category. So the reward there is, of course, getting to play those extra games and to have the honor of playing for their school. A couple games that were pretty interesting throughout this week was, to take a look at, I guess starting with Spearfish against Belle-Fourche. We always take a look at these points, and if Belle-Fourche would have needed power points or ranking points this week, that would have been a good time, as they beat Spearfish 4-1. And I don't know what a lot of people are talking about these ranking points. I think for the first year, what they did made sense just because they didn't have to reinvent the wheel. But there's kind of an inherent, I think, unfairness in how they're going about it. And basically the reason why I think it's that way is if you play a team early in the year and they're a good team and they have a winning record and they've done a good job but if you play them and beat them and you get the seeding points for playing a very good team, but then 2 weeks later they lose their best striker and maybe their goalkeeper to an injury, and that's happened with some teams, and the team inherently becomes weaker and doesn't maintain their winning record, all of a sudden the points that you got for the win against the tough version of the team is damaged by all of the rest of the season when that team is not as tough. And I don't know what they can do about it, but that's something that just from a perspective of seeing how soccer leagues are run, doesn't really fit in. As far as the games go, Belle-Fourche played Rapid City Central Saturday, and showed once again that they're a tough, scrappy team, even though Rapid City Central ended up winning. Rapid City Central had a pretty good week. They won against Stevens, or they tied against Stevens Tuesday and then won against Belle-Fourche on Saturday. And we'll talk a lot more about that game in the AA part of the show. But the final game against T area and Groton area in T was a really important game for both those teams, because it was, basically to determine who was traveling and who they would be hosting. And so, T area, as we go, let me share this with you. As we go to the bracket here, we can see that T area will be hosting West Central. And those two teams, I think, are pretty evenly matched. The one thing about T area that really impresses me and Coach Mark Anderson over there, they have a lot of really young girls. They're their top scorer is a sophomore. They've got a freshman target player that they play, a lot, and she, I think, is one of the faster players in the state. But they host West Central, and actually T area along with Rapid City Stevens are, I think, the only two teams that have a hosting a double header playoff game with both boys and girls side on Tuesday night. So, that's going to be it's going to be a great battle between T area and West Central. West Central have a very solid team. They got a good young keeper. They got a couple of hard running forwards, Eichmann and Ely, and those girls they just put so much pressure on the teams that they play against that it's going to be hard for T area to maintain composure over that. But T area have their same the same pressure that they can put back the other direction. Anderson in the middle is great at getting balls up to her fast players, and Carly McKinney is good at finishing them off. So that should be a really competitive game. Vermilion will be traveling to Groton area, and I think another pick'em game with the 4 or 5 game, just simply because Vermilion have a very good team, and we watched Groton area, this weekend against T area. They came back late to win the game against T area, so they're very close in quality. Vermilion has been beating teams and playing extremely well, even though they lost to T area last week by a goal. So we've got a lot of parity in the number 3 through the number 6 spots. But once we move up to 1 and 2, again, the reward for Groton area or Vermilion, whoever wins that game, they get to go out to Rapid City and take on St. Thomas More, which I wouldn't wish that on anybody, not even any AA team. So it looks to me that as strong as Belle Fourche and St. Thomas More are, that they're going to be the two teams meeting in Mitchell on October 11th. But of course, folks, this is it's high school soccer, isn't it? And so we really don't know what the outcomes are going to be. But the teams are up and they're ready to go. They're excited about it. And St. Thomas More, I think, have a sense that they're that good of a team. Belle Fourche are playing with some swagger and have a chip on their shoulder. T area are young and they know they are, but somehow or other they keep hanging in there. West Central has some really good players that know how to score goals, just like Vermilion do, and then Groton area is the same way. So, once we're in this scenario, it's one lucky goal or one good save or a call can make a difference, and that's, I think, kind of the level that we're coming to here in the A girls. Okay, let's move over to the AA. We had just an incredibly interesting week in AA girls, and they were very unsettled from 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds, and we really didn't know, what was going to happen. We talked last week about Pierre rolling into Harrisburg and losing there in just a really intense battle. Pierre had plenty of chances to win; they just couldn't get one in. That really kind of set them reeling, and it also kept Harrisburg alive, in the whole scheme of things. And how things progressed from there on out was just really, really interesting. Aside from that, to recap the week, Sioux Falls O'Gorman went to Brookings and beat a good Brookings team 5-2. Brookings has had throughout the year kind of a consistency issue. They're another team who are well coached, who have a lot on the ball, who play with good intensity, and they've had some great games, and they've had some games that weren't so great for them. And so I'm sure they'll be working on that consistency issue with their younger players as they move into next season. Mitchell, we talked a little bit about them in the boys show, and we saw Mitchell a couple times this year. they're a team that just worked and worked and worked to get better all season long. They got a lot of very dedicated people working with those girls, and we have a real sense, even though they're going to lose some important athletes, we have a real sense that those older girls at Mitchell have done a lot of work with the younger girls to help them get better and be more prepared for AA soccer. And that's what it's all about. T area is kind of finished up with a lot of AA competition, and they Tuesday night they had Sioux Falls, Washington roll into town, and Sioux Falls, Washington really was one of those teams that had to win, and of course against T area they did, and um, they basically Tuesday night kept themselves alive and in the game by winning, and then they had to finish out strong. We were in Rapid City Tuesday night for the fantastic game between Rapid City Central and Rapid City Stevens, and oh, what a game it was! The girls really put on a great show. The scoring started early when Leah Emerson stole a ball, kind of a lazy ball in the back by a Stevens defender, and went in and just pumped it in over the keeper. Rapid City Stevens, though, didn't miss a beat and actually, kind of went on the attack. Central wanted to play a 3-5-2, and Rapid City Stevens, once they saw that, they really started going to the flanks, taking advantage of having three in the back and finally equalized. But it was really a great back and forth game. It's hard to say which team is going to win if they meet again, but those are two very high quality teams. Rapid City Central, of course, we had them picked early as one of the top teams. I think we had them preseason number 2, and they're starting to achieve what we thought they would be doing all year. So that's nice to see. Belle Fourche and Spearfish, again, Spearfish closes out with a loss against Belle Fourche, and then finally a loss against Rapid City Stevens. They've really had a rebuilding year out there with a lot of young players. And then we kind of moved down the line on Tuesday night to a really important game for Harrisburg, who Tuesday night was still alive and still in the hunt to get in the Final 8. They roll into Brandon Valley, and Brandon Valley, we've had several teams go over there and not do very well, and Harrisburg went in, and they couldn't get the job done there at Brandon Valley. They ended up losing 3-2, and at that point kind of killed any chances to advance. Tuesday night in Sioux Falls, Watertown visited Sioux Falls Roosevelt, and this is another kind of an issue with Sioux Falls Roosevelt, where that game ended up with a 2-2 tie, and not a good result at all for Roosevelt, because they needed to win to keep a better bracket position. They basically didn't really hurt themselves a lot by the tie, but that will tell you a little bit about both teams, about Sioux Falls Roosevelt needing a win or wanting a win, and Watertown, who are a very scrappy, very tough-minded a team that won't quit, coming in and playing a top team and being able to tie them up. So that spoke volumes about both those teams. And Watertown, of course, was not able to make the top 8, but they really turned some heads. The games they lost, a lot of them were 1-goal games. They won a game late against Sioux Falls, Washington a little bit earlier. So the quality is there. They still have a lot of young girls in the team, although they will be losing a couple of key seniors this year. Moving down the line, then we go to Thursday night, another really important night for AA girls soccer, because hanging down there at 8, 9, 10, we had Harrisburg, who desperately needed a win to have any life at all, and Sioux Falls, Washington visiting Harrisburg, who absolutely had to have a win to have any life at all. And Sioux Falls, Washington rolled into Harrisburg and got the job done there. and Harrisburg at that point was eliminated. Sioux Falls was still alive, but then they needed some help. And one of the things that we wrote about last week in the analysis was the nightmare scenario for Yankton, who went into the week as the 7th seed, but they had to roll into Pierre Friday night and play Pierre on their home turf, and Pierre needed to win more than Yankton did, and that's exactly what happened. Pierre ended up winning that game against Yankton 2-1. It was an extremely contentious match. Yankton opened scoring with a Taylor Reuter goal, just a real nice. She beat a couple players and just had a rip. Pierre's first goal was really a big mess in the box. One of the Yankton defenders, I think, handled the ball. It dropped down on the floor. There was a lot of confusion, and Kaylee Williams just walked up and kicked it in the net. The girl that handled the ball, for some reason, even though having kept it out of the goal, got a yellow card and was sent off instead of a red. Just a lot of confusion in that part of the game. Yankton fought hard and came back and put a lot of pressure on Pierre, but Pierre countered, and Kaylee Williams got another goal, and that made the game 2-1. And Yankton, the last 15 minutes of the game, just brought everything they could at Pierre. They had one goal called back on what a lot of people thought were a questionable offsides call by a Pierre referee. For some reason, was reffing that game or ARing. So just it was not a tidy game on the field. It was not a tidy game from a referee standpoint. Just something that you really don't like to see in a game that's important. But the bottom line is Pierre ended up winning Yankton over Yankton. Yankton goes from 7 to 9, and because of that, they put Washington in a position to make the top 8. Yankton was done getting power points, so it all came down to what Sioux Falls, Washington was going to do later against West Central. The next day, though, to solidify their spot, Pierre rolled into Huron and won there. And then Saturday, Sioux Falls, Washington took on West Central and ended up winning there. Another interesting game, just to keep Belle Fourche didn't need any points, but they got some even losing to Rapid City Central. But Rapid City Central really had to win against Belle Fourche at Belle Fourche to keep their position, and that's exactly what they did. Aberdeen Central was in Brandon Valley and won that game handily. Rapid City Stevens, same thing against Spearfish. And then we came down to the last game of the season, Saturday night, with Sioux Falls Lincoln at Watertown. And this is a game that Sioux Falls Lincoln really needed to win. It was kind of weird. Last week, Sioux Falls Lincoln was ranked very high, I think even number 1. And they took a game with a Minnesota team and actually slipped a couple spots, even though they won like 11-1. They actually ended up slipping a couple spots in the rankings because they played that team that couldn't produce points for them. And that's one of the questions that a lot of people are having, and that does seem a little bit of a possibly an inequity in doing that. So the player in the playoff positions are ending up looking like this. Let's get the AA bracket up for you. So you can see all on Tuesday, Rapid City Stevens hosting that doubleheader out there. Their boys team are hosting Aberdeen Central, and the Pierre girls will be rolling into Rapid City Stevens. And I really do believe this is a dangerous game for Rapid City Stevens. Pierre, I think almost have to feel like they're a team of destiny right now because, they lost at Harrisburg. It looked like they were out. Some other things happened. They won against a very good Yankton team. They finished out with a win at Huron just like they needed to do. So they have to have a feeling that maybe this is their year. And, the rule in playoff soccer now is to get in the top 8, have 3 good games, and hoist the cup at the end. And that certainly could be. Rapid City Stevens, I think, will probably control most of the ball or much of the ball. But if Piers Kaylee Williams can get loose for a couple shots, she is probably going to score. She's usually money from a long ways out. And then if she can find a couple balls to thread through to their junior speedster up top, Nikki Farnsworth, that is going to give Stevens a lot of trouble, because Farnsworth is really fast. She is could be the fastest girl in AA, certainly, if not the fastest, one of the fastest. So that's regardless of their 1 and 8 rankings. You can throw all that stuff out the window right now, because it's a bunch of high school kids going at each other, and you never know what the outcome's going to be. So that's going to be an interesting game to follow. In Sioux Falls, then, the number 4 seed Sioux Falls Lincoln will be hosting Rapid City Central. Opening weekend here in Sioux Falls, Rapid City Central took on Lincoln, and those two ended up tying. It was kind of ironic, because both teams really had a slow start to the 2014 season. We took a look at both of those teams early on, and literally said that's 1 and 2. We in our preseason rankings, we had Sioux Falls as 1 and Rapid City Central as 2. Where they are today, maybe it's obviously different than we picked them. But the thing about both of these teams, Sioux Falls Lincoln's coach Steve Burkhalter is extremely good at finding his team's weakest spot and solving it, and then moving on to the next one. And so is Rapid City Central's Mark Morgan. We're looking at 2 very capable teams here. I think the clash in styles are going to be extremely interesting, because Lincoln is more of a hold the ball type, pick your time type team, even though I think Coach Burkhalter wants to get them a little bit more on long attack. Rapid City Central will just bring the ball at you, and they'll bring numbers along with it. And going up against Lincoln's Elite 11 keeper Maggie Smither, and some of those great defenders they've got back there like Katie Gillette, it's going to be a real interesting match. We're going to be really looking forward to bringing part of that to you. Up at Aberdeen, Sioux Falls, Washington, go in there as a number 7 seed, and Sioux Falls, Washington, they've got this Mo kid in the middle who is really good, and a lot of players around her. They got a lot of speed. They got kids who can finish. Aberdeen Central, though, Coach Askey, every year he has a bunch of strong, tough kids who never give up. And this year he's got Region 2 player Allie Zuger kind of in the engine room, but he's got a lot of girls around her who can really play. The probably some of the funnest part of watching Aberdeen Central is their 8th grader and freshman scoring phenoms. And I mean, just a couple of young kids, but man, they get up the field, and they have to be dealt with. So that's going to be a great game at Aberdeen Central. Finally, back in Sioux Falls again, when we have a rematch of the Sioux Falls O'Gorman Sioux Falls Roosevelt game, which Sioux Falls Roosevelt won 1-0. And early in there's some significant stuff around this game. First of all, they played on a field that wasn't even painted. They literally had to put cones around the field, though that might not have any bearing on the outcome of the game. It just was, not a very good deal. You don't really find that much when you go to a high school game anymore. But playing on the grass is not Sioux Falls or Gorman's best situation. They are a turf team. They had just a few days earlier had just lost their starting goalkeeper, very good keeper Christina Wagner, to an ACL tear. Sophomore Olivia Sorrell had to step in for her, and they lost Wagner during the Yankton game. Sorrell stepped in, made a couple of really important saves to preserve the win for O'Gorman against Yankton. Against Roosevelt, it got a little bit kooky in the box. It wasn't a tidy goal, but of course they all count one when they cross the line. So through the game, O'Gorman kept bringing the heat. They had one come off wood. They had a lot of opportunities and just couldn't get it in the onion bag. So that game ended with a Roosevelt 1-0 win over O'Gorman in a game where O'Gorman really looked like they were the better team much of the game. So that's going to be another really interesting rematch. And the biggest issue right now is that game is going to be on O'Gorman's turf. And Roosevelt is not a turf team. They're a grass team. So we'll see how connected they are. We keep getting word that, as it always is with these high school teams, the season starts kind of wearing on the kids. And so we'll see if Roosevelt can get reconnected as a team. We'll see if O'Gorman can take advantage and look a little bit better than they did against Roosevelt that first game. But again, if you have time to go Tuesday and see that game at the MAC here in Sioux Falls, I think that would be well worth your time. And we're certainly hoping that the scheduling will be such that we can see that game and even more, because that's really a very interesting game. So anyway, that's the girls' weekly wrap-up show for today. Probably next Sunday we'll try to get a couple more coaches on here and just kind of get their input on what happened this week. And then next Wednesday night, October 8th, we will be doing a bigger show recorded live. We're going to have several coaches. I will be there. We're just going to kind of wind down the season and take a look at the matchups that we are anticipating in the finals. And we're really thinking that that's going to be the type of show that you're really going to enjoy. So for now, this is Randy McKee signing off. Again, I really want to thank Home Federal Bank for being such a great sponsor. I want to thank one of our major advertisers, South Dakota National Guard, Horner Barrow Orthopedic, who have been great sponsors as well. And I want to let you know also, go check out that soccer leaderboard. The college coaches are looking at it, and they're really appreciative of what they have there to look at about your players. So anyway, thanks again for watching Soccer 605. This is Randy McKee signing off, and we will see you next week right here on Soccer 605 TV.